Hello. I have my second interview for my new YouTube channel, Robert Luria, The Mediterranean Nightmare. And in a previous interview, I interviewed Fabio Petroni, one of the professional pool players from Italy. And today I'm going to be interviewing Frank Alverez. He's the president of the UPA. And I knew him years ago. Between 2006, 2009, I played in about one of his professional pool playing events here in America. And I know him very well from before. He really represents the UPA in a really great way. And I'd like to, before I interview him, give you a short introduction so you get a background of Frank Alvarez. Frank Alverez III, he grew up in Phoenix, Arizona. He received a BA in Biblical Studies. He received a minor in the Old Testament, and it was at a Bible college. After he graduated, he decided to become a professional pool player. He trained very hard for 3 years and jumped onto the UPA professional tour in the United States. After playing on the UPA tour, he became a player rep for the UPA tour. And after playing on the UPA tour for 5 years, he became president of the UPA, which he still is, of the president of the UPA today. He created a league system for the UPA in 2009. He slowly grew over time the UPA league to 5,000 members. He recently launched an app for the UPA League. And welcome to Robert Luria, The Mediterranean Nightmare. And we're going to find out information about his pool playing career and the UPA through some questions I'm going to ask. Thank you for being a guest.
Thank you for
What?
having me.
You're very welcome. Thank you. What impact did your mother and father have on you when you were growing up?
You mean, well, in regards to pool, my I didn't know my actual father from the ages of 5 to 17. My mother and my stepfather, they used to take us to a bar, and me and my brother would basically roll. We were so small, we would roll balls into the pocket on pool tables. We once we were done doing that, they'd hand us another quarter, and we'd go do it again. So there's always that fun of playing pool and learning how to play pool. As I grew up and I came to know my father, I mean, my mother used to always say he was a pool shark because we really didn't know him, right? Um, but once we had met him when we were 17 years old to watch him play, he was a great player. And he used to play for a lot of money back in those days. And so obviously from there, he just kind of taught us to have straight strokes, and we didn't really understand the game. He would just kind of tell us what to do, hit top left or hit bottom middle or something like that. And we would do it and things would kind of work out. So that's the impact they had pool wise.
So when you saw your father, that was the first time you saw somebody that played pool well?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, now that I think about that, being 17 years old and we lived in a small town of Maricopa in Arizona, um, yeah, I mean, I don't think I ever saw someone play pool that well. And so he was kind of my first experience of a good player.
Yeah, it kind of showed you what is possible in this game.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I remember I was going to Long Beach State, and me and my friend, we saw somebody that was playing on a bar table, and we would play with different people. And that was the first time we saw a draw shot, and we saw the cue ball come back, and we looked at each other like we were like shocked. And then and then my friend says, "Wow, he's got a keychain of an 8 ball, and I was like, oh, maybe that's what the great players have or something. But I was mesmerized because I didn't know it was possible until you see something that a cue ball could be drawn back.
Yeah,
I mean, just that alone, I was just like, what?
yeah.
Why has pool become a passion for you?
Well, I think pool became a passion for me because it was challenging. And there's two aspects to pool that I don't hear people talk about much, but I noticed over the years. And that is, one is who you are in life is who you are on the pool table. And those two are synonymous. And so it's very interesting. And also, pool is the perfect balance between um, kind of logic and feel. You know, like you could measure, in theory, you could measure how hard you have to hit a ball, how many miles an hour you have to hit a ball on what axis, what spin, right? You could put that in a calculator and determine the exact spot that it's going to land. But you can't compute that in your head. You have to feel that in your head,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so when you watch these players play so perfect, it's because they're feeling it perfect. And so they just perform, right? So that's what it is for me. It's those two items that uh you know that really inspired me to play the game, and that's why I enjoy teaching others the game now.
Yeah, I've noticed it's like it is in your brain, and there's like you can't describe it with words. And what you said before is so true when it says a lot about different people, their personalities, their strengths and weaknesses to their personalities, their discipline. It's really amazing, and it has the same discipline as other passions, may it be karate and different things. And I think it teaches life lessons too. That's another thing I like about the game.
Oh yeah, 1,000%. If you're paying attention, it's teaching you life lessons. Whether or not you catch them, that's another issue, right? Uh,
Oh,
most
exactly.
people most people don't see that, but I see people who walk around stressed out. I already know they're going to have a stressed out game.
Oh, definitely.
You
Yeah.
know, I mean, that's just the way it is. So,
If you started playing pool all over again from scratch, would you approach the game differently to improve, and would you have a whole nother approach
no,
knowing what
no,
you
I
now
think
know?
I think my playing approach was logical. I just applied logic to training and whatnot. I think what I would definitely change is my attitude. Um, I would definitely go for the jugular a whole lot more. I wasn't a very aggressive player. Um, and I think that has to do with my goal. To be honest with you, it's funny, I didn't realize it until after. My goal was always to be a professional pool player, and that's what I was. My goal was not to win a major event, and I never did. So I would literally change the focus of my goal. You know, in other words, I climbed the mountain that I said I was going to, but there were other mountains I never said I was going to climb, right? I would have liked to, but it was never an actual goal. And so you're not going to accidentally get to the top of Mount Everest, right?
That is so true. Yeah, there's a book where the title of the book is Know Your Why. So basically, when you have goals, if you know your why and it's for deep-rooted reasons, then when things get tough, you will continue. If somebody's why is not strong enough, they'll follow off their path that they've been going down.
Yeah.
So yeah, setting those goals. and concrete goals, where it's based on something that's like, somebody will say, hey, I'm going to quit my job when I make enough money. What is enough money? You need a number. And with pool two, if you have like real concrete goals that are not vague, that will keep you going and will make that dream really more apt to actually become reality.
Correct.
From all the years that you've played, do you have like a humorous pool story that you could share with our audience?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is a funny story where, I mean, I have a lot of them, but probably one of the biggest is I was playing pool in a local nightclub. They had some bar tables there, and people would show up and play. And I was on this table, and it was basically an open table. The winner continues to play, and there's all these people watching, right? And I was just, I was on tour and I was dominating the table, and it really wasn't that hard for me because they weren't really players, right? But and um, this guy came up and he did, for being in a nightclub, he did not look like a happy individual at all. And I just knew something was internally bothering him. He didn't look intoxicated. Maybe he slightly was, but he didn't look it. And he put quarters in the table. Well, this table, if you didn't handle the little mechanism properly, it would steal your quarters. You kind
Mm.
of had to make sure you really jammed it in there and pulled it out. Otherwise, it would just steal your quarters. Well, he did it, you know, wrong, and it stole his quarters. So he's messing with it and he's just really upset. He slams the table and he puts quarters in again. And I can just tell it just kind of teed him off. So then he's racking the balls, right? And he's just uh, slamming the balls around, banging the table as he's putting them in the rack. And then uh, I broke and ran out on him. Well, no one else was set to play. He was playing again, and I had to just stop and ask him. I'm like, maybe this is, because at the time I was going to, I'd come from Bible college, and I thought maybe this individual needs someone to talk to, right? I'll be that guy, right? And so I say to him, I said, "Excuse me, sir, you know, you have to excuse my background. I go to Bible college. I just want to make sure you're okay. I mean, is there someone you need to talk to? I mean, is everything okay?" Oh man, he just reared back and he goes, "Oh, you're a Christian, huh?" He goes, "You're a Christian, huh?" He goes, "Well, gosh darn it, I'm the devil."
Why?
And I said to him, "Well, for being the devil, you're not a very good pool player."
Oh my. Oh,
That was it, man. He was just set off. He just walked away. Anyway, that was just something I got a kick out of. You think if someone's the devil, they're gonna play a little better fool. You know what I'm saying?
hats off to you. A lot of times, sometimes people are like hurting and stuff, and sometimes they'll open up and just talking a little bit feel better
Yeah,
for
I
a
mean,
while. You know what I'm
I've
saying?
had it both ways. I just felt an obligation to ask. I mean,
Exactly.
it was like, "You okay? What's going on here?" Right?
Oh my.
But anyway, that's just one. I guess another quick one would be, I was telling about the personalities. Rodney Morris, one of my best friends, he's very fast and loose on the table, and he's very fast and loose in real life.
Oh
One
wow.
minute he's going to Georgia, the next minute he changes plan. He's going to go to California, then he's going to go do this, whatever. Ralph Souquet, on the other hand, is another one of my best friends, and he's very systematic. I mean, he literally calculates when he's going to use the restroom prior to a match, on what time of day during the match, to make sure that, he doesn't get interrupted, and what time he eats. And he operates on German and time. If you say 2 minutes, he's talking 120 seconds,
Oh,
right?
wow.
So, and you notice that if you've watched both of them play, they both play that way. Ralph is very systematic, draws out plans, doesn't fire until he's done all of his processes and executes a perfect shot. Rodney, on their hands, real loose. He'll just shoot, play, look around, smile, shoot, play. Anyway, I remember I think I was in Derby City. We were at an event there, and it was lunchtime, and me and Ralph made plans to go to lunch, and then we were like, what do we want to take a cab? Do we want to, what are we going to do here, right? We're just going to grab a cab. Well, Rodney Morris comes walking down the stairs, and Rodney Morris goes, "Hey, you guys want to go to lunch? Because I got a car." So it solves me and Ralph's issue, right? And Rodney goes, "I'm going to this, I don't remember what, some Hawaiian place or something, some Korean place." And of course, Ralph looks at his watch and goes, "Well, how far away is it?" Right? And Rodney goes, "Oh, it's 10 minutes away." I knew this was not going to work, because I knew 10 minutes to Rodney was not 10 minutes, right?
Mm-hmm.
To him, it felt like 10 minutes, and therefore it was basically 10 minutes. Ralph Souquet approximated that we needed to get to our place in 7 minutes. So he added on that extra 3 minutes. And I just was like, I'm just going to sit back and watch this happen. Anyway, we're driving. We get to that 10-minute mark. And Ralph goes, 10 minutes, my ass.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, and so just watching those two kind of come together and their worlds meet, and I'm just sitting back enjoying it. It's just one of the funny memories I have, because it goes back to what I said, your personality, you know what I mean? So then to watch two personalities kind of come together, it's just always fun.
Yeah. As you were telling the story and you're setting up the personalities, and then I heard what they were doing, then I said the plot thickens. It was like I knew the plot was thickening, and you have these two opposite forces that they're
Yeah.
like pulling against each other. It's
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And to this day, I guarantee you, Ralph remembers it. There's guaranteed.
Yeah, I remember there was one of your events. I totally remember, and I was at one of your events, and one of the players, they said the practice room opened at like 9, and there was like 9:02, and they were all upset that it was literally just like that, and it was just like a minute or something. I just kind of smirked myself, and I'm like, here I am, I'm ready.
Yeah. That's one thing I've learned in the pool world, to be honest with you, is that you have to let them know what time the bus is leaving, and then the bus has to leave at that time. I'm not sure what it is about the culture of pool players, but I'll give you an example. Let's say I'm going to have a tournament and sign up ends at 10 a.m., right? Now, let's say you come walking in 5 minutes late to sign up. My heart, I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever, 10:05. The problem right there is that I just opened up the door for every single pool player and gave them a legitimate reason for me not to sign them up whenever they show up.
Mm-hmm. It's a
So the guy walks in
multiplier.
at 7:10, or walks in at 7 after, walks in at 15 after, right? He goes, "Well, he let Robert in."
Yeah.
And he's right. I mean, you know what I mean? It's a legitimate argument, right? Because I said
Mm-hmm.
10, but I didn't hold to 10. So what is it now? You know? And the other thing I've learned is that if you're going to, somebody said to me the other day, the tournament started 2 hours late. I said, well, that's the tournament director's fault because they're doing exactly what I said.
Mm-hmm.
And they wait because they want the field to be fuller. Well, then your time to start the event is not the time that you set. It's when you feel the event is full enough, right?
Exactly.
So anyway, just learned a lot working in the industry with the mentality of people. It's taught me a lot.
Yeah, I remember, yeah, sometimes there's like different things where I was in this one tournament and it was completely disorganized where th they were constantly, what table are you on? What table are you on? And then moving people everywhere. And then it got so interesting at one point. There was somebody that lost twice and it was double elimination and then they claimed that person wasn't didn't lose two matches. And then I ended up playing that person. I'm like, what the heck? Did they buy back in? What's going on?
Yeah, no, I've heard of situations like that. I've never had to deal with it. One thing to keep in mind, if a tournament runs smooth, that's because the people running it are working hard.
Yeah, and I think something that maybe I don't know as much, but I'm thinking you have more than one eyes on everything that there's like a team of people behind it. It's not all on one person. So if something kind of goes a little off, then somebody else catches it before it becomes something that affects the whole event. So I think there's many eyes on all the important aspects.
Yeah,
And if there's just one person that can kind of I ran like a ladies event and I had somebody else watching everything too, so I wasn't the only person.
yeah, definitely. I mean, if you have the help, you definitely have to use it.
Exactly. Like anything in life, it's good to have a team.
Yeah.
What do you do when somebody tries to shark you as a player?
Well, the first, my first rule, and this I apply this to, I don't know if you know this, but I actually teach firearm classes as well, right?
No, I didn't know.
Yeah, yeah. I teach firearm classes, but my first rule in self-defense is don't be there. Okay. Getting gas in the middle of the night, don't be there. At
Mm-hmm.
the ATM at 1 in the morning, don't be there. You know what I mean? Certain parts of the city, just don't be there. You know what I mean? So I avoid that. So when you say someone's trying to shark me, it typically does not happen with me because I never allow myself to be in a situation where I can be sharked, right? Now, that being said, let's just say I go to a random tournament and I play in a random tournament. Well, because of that, and I see how it's run and I understand the discipline and mindset in the tournament, I already know what I'm dealing with the potential of. It's not a UPA event, right? It's not that structured, or maybe I see that the tournament director is non-confrontive, non-combative, which means a pool player is going to push them over. That's just the way it is, right? So I what I typically do is what I've learned from a friend of mine that works with he works with the state of Arizona, and he works with people that have psychological issues going on, like they're potentially dangerous. And the one thing he taught is don't engage. Just don't engage. So I'm playing with a guy. It's a race to 7 or something like that. Um, I win, and he makes the comment something like, "Oh, I didn't move up my quarter," or something along those lines, because I was going further ahead of him. Right? I just act like I don't even listen. I just move my quarter up and wait from the break. I don't, you know what I mean? There's not going to engage in that. It's a completely. The one thing is when you pride yourself on playing pool with integrity, you typically don't have to worry about a number of items. Let me give you an example. Let's say you and I are playing. Let's say you win the rack, right? And you forget to move your marker. I'm going to move your marker for you. That's just the way it is. You won, I lost, your marker goes up. There's no questions about it, nothing. So let's say 3 games down the way, oh, I forgot to move my marker. I moved it for you. And whatever the case is, you're okay with where we're currently at, right? You're here. So whatever happened in the past, that's your issue. But nonetheless, I moved your marker for you. So even if the guy forgot to move his marker, which he didn't, I was been a backup and I would have known because I pay attention to every single thing. You know. So anyway, that's just those kinds of things. The first answer to your question is I don't let myself be in those situations.
Yeah, that's a big part of a lot of things in life, and I'm doing it myself.
Yeah.
They have scoring and the Fargo rating, it's all on the phone. And I will sometimes I'll play a player and they tell you in the tournament that only the person you're playing should move it up, but sometimes I'll already have information in my head. When I play this person, they'll never move up the score. So then I will score them and I'll just hold up the phone and then they'll nod and that sort of thing. And I like doing it, game by game, so there's no potential for a conversation about that later or anything like that. So
Yeah.
that is a big part of it, just in life. And I like the example you gave first that had nothing to do with pool. Hey, I'm not going to be at a park at 3 o'clock in the morning. You don't take certain chances and that sort of thing.
Correct. Like even our leagues are a big challenge. And the reason why is because our leagues, we have the biggest standards in the industry with the rules that we set. We seek to apply essentially professional rules to bar room behavior. And that's a lot like playing kindergarten cop, you know? And so, but our rules are written that way. And so, monitoring, people doing that kind of thing, there there there's the mindset of certain people, not just in the billiard industry but in general. If cheating if cheating can get you to win, then that's part of the game.
Mm.
They just view cheating as part of the game, right? And if they can't beat you on the table, they'll try to beat you off the table. Let's just say you're running rack after rack on me. You're beating me on the table and I got no shot. If I have this mentality of, cheating, then I'm going to try to shark you off the table because I'm not beating you on the table. So I just watch for those, you know what I mean? And to me, it's kind of a power thing, right? Because the moment you're trying to cheat me off the table, I know that you feel that you're sharked on the table.
Yeah.
So
That's so true. And then there's another thing. If they can try to get in your head, somebody could grip the cue too tight and your grip will change and different things can change.
yeah, I mean, it's very,
Rushing your shots.
yeah,
You might
pools are,
rush your shots. You might not think about the table as much. There's
yeah,
all kinds of things that can happen with that.
yeah, pool's a mental game.
It is.
So at the end of the day, one of the best things you can do as a pool player is to not let anything bother you.
Exactly. And that can take time. And then sometimes certain things will come up, but you've have experience with that, I've found. And now you kind of have like a repertoire of how you handle A, B, C, D. So sometimes
Correct.
experience can help a lot with that I've noticed.
Yeah,
And
correct.
where you are, your mindset too, before what is your mindset before even sometimes you might not have the greatest mindset before somebody tries to shark you. That's another element. So trying to be in a good mindset before you come.
Yeah, I
and
mean,
even
that's,
show up.
yeah,
Control what you can.
yeah, that's true, but the way around that is pool has to be an escape for you. It has to be an escape from from the crap that's going on in your world.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can get to the pool table and enjoy it, and remember that's why you're there. Then it blocks out the stuff that happened prior to that. You know what I mean? Otherwise, if you're not, because think about it, if you're going to show up to the pool table and you're still bothered by what's going on out in the world and you're not enjoying the game, then why play the game?
Exactly.
Stay home. You could
Good
be
point.
miserable at home for free.
Exactly. Yeah. Good point.
Yeah. And you don't have to spread your misery around to other people.
I like that. Uh, do you do you play for money, or have you played for money, and why?
I've played for not, I don't think it was money. I think it was things. Um my rule is I don't gamble, right? From the perspective of if I'm around Rodney, if I'm around any professional, we're
Hmm.
playing for lunch or dinner. And that's, so for money, no. And it's nothing serious, but it's enough to make us want to beat the other person to enjoy the dinner more, right? So there's all that aside. There's three times that I've played for actual something that costs money. I won every time, and every time it was a bitter experience for the other
Hmm.
person, and they acted butthurt, and to me, it wasn't worth it. You know, give you an example. I got a Predator Q, a Predator shaft. It was I think it was a 314, right? And it was a 314, and I was going to sell it to a friend of mine. He was a local pool playing friend of mine from a pool perspective. We never went out to lunch together, but he was one of those guys that, at the pool room, right? Anyway, 314. And I was going to sell him the shaft. Oh, what was it? Let me figure this out. Because off the top of my head, it's not coming to. Okay, yeah. So I was going to sell him the shaft for $160, right? I brought the shaft. We're gonna go meet and play pool. I'm gonna give him the shaft. He's gonna buy the shaft. He says, "Well, why don't we play for it?" I'm like, "No, just here, just give me the money. Here's your shaft." "No, let's play for it." I'm like, "Okay, well, here's the deal. You have to pay double the price of the shaft because you're getting the shaft one way or another, right? So you're gonna give me 160 for the shaft, but we'll play. If you'll get it for free if you win, I get an extra 160. So that'll be 320 if we anyway, we play, I win, right? He takes the shaft. I don't think we ever talked again. One
Hmm.
of the things that happened to him was people running around because they heard him, they were watching us. People running around asking him, "Hey, how's your new 320 shaft?"
Hmm.
Because 314 was the shaft, but he ended up paying 320 for it.
Wow.
So everybody was ribbing him on how's your new 320 shaft.
Oh no.
Anyway, like I said, I've never I've gambled three times, won three times, and the person's just always bad about it. It's like, what's the point? I don't need your money, and I don't need that. I'm good.
Yeah.
I just don't. I just fundamentally don't enjoy it. You know, and you hear all kinds of horror stories, and of course, I've been around the best pool players in the world gambling. You know what I mean? And just the stuff I've seen, it's been so ugly, and guys doing cocaine, and it's just don't be in it. That's the answer.
Yeah, I don't do it. I mean, I've read some books. There's some pool books out there with some money stories that will just blow your mind, that it's like you're reading and like, oh my God, this actually happened.
Yeah.
Because that was my reaction to Wolf of Wall Street. I saw that movie and I was like, And then after I saw the movie, I actually went online and go, oh my God, that actually happened. I was like, this couldn't have happened. And I was like, wow, yeah, there's stories that, whoa, they're pretty intense.
Yeah.
So you definitely, from before, you definitely got a lot of support from your mother and father from your pool journey, which is really really key a lot of times, because sometimes there's like a family mythos or a family belief, and if somebody, because of their personality, follows something else, then it can be looked down on, and sometimes people won't pursue certain passions that come from themselves.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, without getting too much into it, I pretty much had very little contact with my mother uh, during those years. So she wasn't a support at all because she just wasn't there. But my mother was the type that would whatever you wanted to do, they were in for it. And my father though was very much that way. He was definitely supportive and definitely, hey, you could do it, you got it. What do you need me to do? Go for it. And I think it's funny because he shared a story with my about my grandfather. My father told him he wanted to pitch baseball, and my grandfather was very down on that and just didn't allow him to do it. So my father flipped the script, with his son. He was like, "No, you do it. You go for it. If you fail, you learn something. Just go for it. You can do it." So, yeah, he was very supportive.
Oh, that's awesome. Do you believe the sport of pool is growing? Do you think there'll be someday a pool tour where players can make a great deal of money, like professional golf or something of that nature someday?
Um, is it growing? Well, I think you can look at growing two ways. Is it evolving? Yeah, it's evolving. Is it growing from a perspective of numbers? I I don't know that we're keeping up with the pool players that are phasing out. I don't know that we're bringing new pool players in. Does
Hmm.
that make sense?
Yes.
I would have to look at the numbers from the Billiard Congress of America in regards to the stats of pool players. My guess is that it's about the same. Pool is one of the most uh, participated in activities in America, from the standpoint that at night people go to a bar, there's a pool table, someone's playing pool. They're not playing volleyball.
Nope.
You know what I mean? They're not playing basketball. Maybe in a gym somewhere, but there's a whole lot more bars open at night with pool tables than there are gyms at night. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's so
And
true.
on top of that, gyms with basketball. You know, so uh, um, I don't know that it's growing from that perspective. Um, from a numbers perspective, I think that it's evolving. In regards to your other question, do I think we'll ever see it on ESPN? I think very specific things have to happen for that to happen. So let me give you an example. The APA has the largest pool league in the world, right?
Oh, in the world. Okay.
Yeah, they're in Vegas every March, or I forget the months, or whatever the case is. The question is simple: largest event. Why isn't ESPN there? There's real answers to that, right? There's real answers to that. The answer is because it's not suited for television. The cursing, the smoking, the drugs, the fighting. It's just not, not unless you want to do some documentary on, you know, the pool world, right? Which you see people try to do that, but it's not. So in order for someone to make it like a tennis match or a golf match, they're going to have to throw significant money at that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, The closest to that, of course, is Matchroom Sports. That they're the closest to uh, breaking that. If I don't know if they're interested in that, but you know, but look at the production that they have going on. You don't see people cursing,
Mm-mm.
fighting, smoking.
Nope.
You don't see any of that. In fact, I think now I don't believe I'm mistaken, and maybe it's been for a while now. They actually do drug testing on. I don't know if it's random. I think it's random drug testing, or they have randomly drug test. I'm not sure on the particulars, but that's the route you would have to go. Um, that's the route that our association aims for. But at the end of the day, the amount of money that the Matchroom Sports puts into that, we couldn't touch that financially. You know what I mean? So you have to have the item, you have to have the thing. Matchroom Sport has that ideal. We have that ideal, um, but we don't have the finance. We don't have the resource. Matchroom Sports, as you know, makes money from a number of
Yeah,
other.
sports,
Yeah,
from
exactly.
what I've heard. Yeah.
Exactly. So there's the answer there.
Yeah, I was thinking, I, I was thinking, I don't know how it'd be possible, but I was thinking for growth, if we could, in an ideal world, if we could make it like a high school sport.
Um,
And then schools play other schools, and then people would, I've noticed it seems like there are people that pick up the game of pool really young, but it seems like they tend to be older like I was. I was in my 20s. On average, it seems like an older thing.
well, that goes back to the market. I mean, there's a reason for that. Who's going to hand their kid a cue and say, "Here, go to the bar and drink and gamble and smoke and potentially get into a fight?" And
Exactly.
you know, no one's going to do that. But it would be nice to have uh, pool in high schools, but it would have to be the reverse. The high school would have to have a reason why to do it. They're not just going to do it because somebody's been bitten by the bug of pool in the administration of a high school. You know what I mean? It takes
Hmm.
way more heavy lifting than that. It would have to be because everybody is seeing it on TV. Okay, now it's a thing. Well, what's the
Hmm.
career?
Oh,
How
yeah.
do you get here? Right? Well, now you can start a program. There's a there's a reason to do it. So it's reversed. You know, you have to put up the you have to create the model that everybody wants to be a part of first. And that creation of a model is going to cost a lot of pennies, and your idea has to be right, because I've seen plenty of people come into our sport, put in a lot of money saying they got the best thing on earth, and I knew right away that ain't going anywhere. They don't understand the nature of the beast of our industry. And if you don't understand the nature of the beast, you can't tame the beast. So
Yeah, there was another part I thought of. There, like near where I live, there was Hard Times Bellflower, and there was no alcohol. So if we had more, I believe, pool halls that were more family and there was no alcohol, then there'd be greater chance of, a father bringing their kid and that enjoyed the game
yeah, you're
and
right
that
about
sort of
that.
thing. If that could expand, and that would really be, because I'm thinking the growth of the sport, sometimes it's good to start at the beginning. If we can get the beginning better, that could open up other things over time. It would take a long time, but I think that's a good place to start.
Yeah, but again, you mentioned something, that there's no alcohol, which
Hmm.
means you starting a bar, a pool room versus a bar, right? A pool room is
Exactly.
typically no alcohol. The issue is there's no money in that, so you don't
Mm,
have a lot of people
I
opening
hear
those
you.
up. They don't have liquor sales, so
Exactly.
how much money are you going to make renting out your tables at you know $5-10 a person per hour?
Yeah, that worked for hard times because it was hard times, but Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, yeah.
And it was
It
only
happens.
because it was hard times.
Yeah, it
That's
happens.
why.
Yeah, it happens, but it's definitely not the norm.
Oh yeah, that's a big challenge. What is it like to play in a professional pool tournament? Kind of like the sounds, the atmosphere, and what is that like for people who, may dream of something like that, or just want to hear, kind of what that experience is like?
Well, I think in the beginning it can be a little overwhelming because there's so many things you have to get used to. I learned right away that the best pool players were the ones that could play in any environment.
Mhm.
That's the one thing. But you're dealing with new things. I'll give you an example. I was able to, just because of the way I carried myself and my playing, and my rank on tour, I was able to secure a sponsorship. Well, my sponsor started putting my photo in magazines. So I would show up to an event and people would have me sign a magazine. And in their eyes, I'm the best pool player in the world, right? Because I'm in a magazine.
Mm.
Meanwhile, I'm like, I'm still figuring out how to win on tour. So that part of it can be very overwhelming. Um, for a player that's going to go on tour, I think before you take a step in that direction, you have to determine what kind of player you're going to be. You're either going to be the partier who doesn't care a lot about a lot of stuff, and then you got to just play good, or you're going to be the person that, um, mathematically maps things out and makes sure everything's taken care of. Put it this way, I had players that would beat me on tour that would ask me to dump a game because their backer would back out on them if they lost the match.
Oh, wow.
That's the financial hardship they're in.
Mm.
I had my hotel paid for, my flight paid for. I was making money before I was even concerned about prize fund because of the way I approached it. You know what I mean? So you really got to be, you got to figure out which route you're going to go. I've seen great players go both routes. You know, Rodney Morris will tell you about his U.S. Open Championship, his first one where he beat Efren Reyes, where it was like he's getting ready for the match. He just got in from the club and he was drunk and taking a shower, getting ready for his match. And he just kept saying to himself, you got to beat him. You're going to win. You're going to win. That was his prep. He was out all night.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Guys like Johnny Archer. I mean, I've never seen Johnny Archer in a club.
Yeah, he's like the ultimate professional.
Yeah. Never seen him in a nightclub. So, just choose which route you're going to be. It's going to help your game the most. Personally, I think that the players that rode fast and loose could have done more if they just settled down and played.
Yeah, and totally zeroed in on it, like
Uh,
a total professional.
yeah, like that's all and being stressed out for money, don't go if you're stressed out for money. Some
Yeah.
players claim that it helps them play better.
We
Okay.
hear that all the time.
Yeah. Some players claim that it helps them, but that's kind of a fake to being aggressive. In other words, I can't be aggressive unless I really need money. Get
Yeah.
rid of the I really need money part and just be as aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Exactly.
So, but I've seen that hurts them more. And the reason why is because I've watched great pool players who needed money in the middle of their match, realizing they need to beat the next three guys to win the 10,000. that in their mind they've already spent the 10,000
Mm.
and they're not happy with it's not even enough money. And there's still three guys they got to beat. That's not where
Yeah,
you
that's a lot in your head.
yeah, you don't want to be there in life.
Yeah. Oh, that's too much in your head.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Definitely not. If you played in a pro, pro pool tournament of your dreams, what would it be like?
you mean which pro tournament or what would it be like? What do you mean?
Oh, it doesn't exist. It's like kind of like a pro event that just like
Okay, well,
would be the most enjoyable for you.
I think well, the pro event of my dreams would be one that is UPA because of our brand and um I like the branding of our company, with the lights and the logo and the people understanding that it's an ideal we hold to. You know what I mean? It's an ideal of a pool player. This is the standard of a pool player to be. Um, uh, so, I mean, I think as far as prize funds concerned, I don't know, anybody can say $1 million and that's fun, right?
Hmm.
Um, but that's my answer there. Just one that we would put on. I would really like to see that one day, you know, but that is a very costly endeavor. You know what I mean? I'll give you an example. Do you remember the event we had at the bar in Tempe? Were you there in Arizona where they brought in bleachers?
I believe it's the same one.
Okay.
It was 2009. It was and then it was like near the college, Arizona State.
Yeah. I mean, it was just,
Yeah, it was that one because it was right near Arizona State.
yeah. I mean, it was just, I would like there to be all kinds of items for people to purchase because I just remember, I mean, seeing people watch an event with the same enthusiasm I had in the beginning, that's that player you want to get a hold of their imagination. You know what I mean? When they're just like, wow, I just had a player, they played our nationals, just a 3-speed on a scale of 1 to 10. 10 in our league system is the best. They're a 3-speed, they're considered a beginner.
Hmm.
The event was so fun for them, it meant so much to them, they had it engraved on their pool cue and the day that they showed up to nationals,
Awesome.
you
Wow,
know
that's so cool.
and to me it's nothing, but to them it's a big thing. And I
Hmm.
like that. you know I think we all kind of want to be a part of something bigger than ourselves, you
Exactly.
know and so to create that ideal thing is the goal. So,
Yeah, that's so cool to, to run something and create something and see somebody get that much out of it. That's a great feeling.
yeah.
And to see that is like, wow, it made an impression. It made a difference in somebody's life. That is the ultimate.
Yeah, and it's not only that. I mean, at our nationals, we have players that look forward to it all year long. Typical 9 to 5 blue collar workers who don't really get out much, but they're saving for their Vegas trip. You know what I mean? And so we have the opportunity. When you move from player to host, that's a big switch there, you know, because now you're the host of the party and you're helping other players enjoy the game. So, and you want to create a platform that makes their nose bleed a little bit. You know what I mean? You want to make it so nice for them that when they're playing, they're nervous. That's how you know you've done your job.
Mm, no, I like that.
That's what I refer to make their nose bleed because they're high
Yeah,
altitude.
because it like means something like big to them. Exactly. And that's why they're nervous. It has like some prestige to it. It has some kind of, yeah, ex that is so true.
Yeah.
I like the way you put that. That's really deep. That's really cool. Tell me about your journey to become a professional pool player. From the
Uh,
time you made the goal, basically.
well, I graduated from Bible college and I was sitting there on my chair thinking, okay, what am I going to do now? Because for 4 years, I dedicated my life to learning a book for 4 years. Well, when somebody takes that away, not the book, but now you're done, you're free, right? It's like, well, what are you going to do? Where am I going to put my energy? My father called me up because he was playing at a BCA event in Vegas, and he goes, "Come on down to Vegas and watch me play." So I went to Vegas. I watched him play. Watched all these 20,000 pool players, and I was just amazed at it. And I was watching a professional play, and a former world champion from the WPBA. I won't mention her name. And she was playing, and I was watching her, and I was just like, I have no idea how she does that on the pool table. So my father says, well, if you're amazed by that, you need to go upstairs and watch the pros. So I went upstairs. That was the first time I saw who were later going to be my friends, Tony Robles, Rodney Morris, Ralph Souquet, watched these guys play. I was just blown away by it. And immediately I saw their different attitudes being played on the pool table. That was one thing I recognized right away. And that's part of what made it fascinating for me. But then to watch them compete, you know what I mean? Battle it out, right? That was fun, right? Because we enjoy the friction. I went back downstairs. I spoke to the pro player that got to know. I asked her, how does one go from being these 20,000 to the top 64? She just said, oh, you could never do it.
Oh, why?
I don't think she said it to me like personally. I think she
Hmm.
meant just in general, it's something you can't do. But I don't know what it was, but it was like someone kicked me in the chest. That's the best way I can describe the feeling. And I said, okay, well, I'm going to do it in 3 years. And I went and to my father, and I said, hey, it was nice to see you. I got to get back and get things started. I went back, sold my furniture, put a 9-foot pool table in my living room, and just started practicing the best I knew how. I'd watch videotapes and I'd just practice certain shots and I'd watch them play. The UPA started in 2002. It was August was their first event. I think it was August, maybe September, um, in Pennsylvania. I went there. I played in the first event. I played in my first year on tour. And then it just so happened that I was ranked like number 33 or 34 on tour. And it was the top 32 to play in that event. Well, two of the players disqualified themselves somehow. They either couldn't make it or something along those lines. So it came down to my ranking, and they offered me the spot. And after the first year on tour, I was at that event.
Awesome. Wow. You met that
Yeah,
goal.
and I was there ever since. And that goes back to our conversation. I don't know that I ever really came up with another goal. You know what I mean? It was like I did that one and I just defaulted there. It's just like I went like this and then just kind of just stayed there. And I never thought about it till after I was out and looked back, you know. Because you would think naturally, well, you're playing in a tournament, you want to win the tournament, right? But if you don't make that one of your like specified goals, see, and this is what I've learned about the human brain. I've learned that it is the laziest genius that exists in all of us.
I like that. This genius that exists in all of us. It sounds like a good title of a book.
And the reason why that is because our brains are so smart, it'll only figure out what to do enough to do what it set out to do.
Mhm.
So you see kids in school that don't perform well, but they're passing.
Yep.
See, in their brain, they're going, well, what's the point? Their brain is checked out. It's like, I'm passing the class. What more do you want from me? It's a C. Why do
Yep.
I get an A? What good is an A going to do me?
Mm.
In high school, after my freshman year, it was funny. I had lockers next to one of my friend. Another friend of mine was like I don't know. He was just like going for all A's, books all the time. And I realized after my first year, I was like, I don't think I needed a book. I think I could have done all of this without taking a book home. That's what it is, without taking a book home. And my friend was always carrying books home. And I told myself, okay, for the next 3 years in high school, I'm never, ever going to take a book home. And I never did. I never, ever took a book home. It did not exist in my world. I still passed. I'm the president of a company.
Yeah.
So that's just an example of the brain going, you know what? You don't have to do it, or I only have to do this much to accomplish it. So that's all I'm going to do. Right. So it was like my brain said, okay, I'm going to get to that event. And it just shut down, started partying, I guess. I don't know. But anyway, that was one thing I would definitely change if I went back. So I would change my goal.
Yeah, I think the big turning point, but for sure, I think the big turning point was getting that table and selling the furniture. It was a, you know, there's a commitment, but I think even more powerful, a commitment that you could see my furniture is gone, my table is here, and it's that was really powerful. I think that when you saw that table and it was put in your home, I think that just like
Yeah, yeah,
because it's a
I agree
physical
with that.
thing. It's not just the idea. It's reality now. There's
I
something in the physical world.
I agree with that. The girl I was seeing at the time, she used to say, you should just put up a sign at your door when your friends want to do something, and the sign says, "Sorry, I'm busy, but don't worry. Every professional's friends goes through this,
Hmm.
right?" And that is something that I'll comment on. On tour, I used to hear people all the time say, "Man, I wish I could be on tour." It that's just, it can't be a wish. It has to, you
Hmm.
have to do it.
Yeah.
One thing to keep in mind is the road to those championships is paved with a lot of broken relationships and bad financial situations and whatnot. But those pros are there doing it.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
That's so
um,
true.
so
Yeah,
and
the Olympic swimmers, no matter what it is, it's the sacrifices.
yeah, yeah,
It's the part that people don't focus on. They just focus on, just doing it, but they don't think of the sacrifices. And you read a lot of biographies, maybe
yeah,
a famous scientist or whatever, you'll see that common theme of the sacrifices that they had to make.
yeah,
There's only so
yeah,
much time in a day. There's only so much that anyone could physically do that it comes down to that and choices, no matter what.
yeah.
It comes
I mean,
down
look at
to
it. Look at it
choices.
like this: you can be a pool player that goes to a major event and play. Let's say you play in the U.S. Open every year. Do you really expect to do as good as the guys that are playing in events every day or every other day or every week?
No way.
It's not reality. In theory, you could, right? Because of the physical universe we live in, but
Yeah, it's possible,
nobody,
but
yeah,
yeah, but realistically, it's like
yeah. Put it this way: look at the last U.S. Open championships, and you already knew the names. You know
yeah,
what I mean? There wasn't, oh, and Frank Alverez decided to come out and play, and he just won the event.
yeah, true.
You know?
It's true. Tell me the story of how you became a player rep for the UPA and then later the president.
Um, Well, after the first event, you know, I saw Charlie Williams working really hard, and I also saw that the vast majority of pool players didn't help him or and didn't thank him.
Mm.
Uh, and I was like, well, I like the sport, I like the guys, I want to help, I'm going to be here. Why not do something? So I said, Charlie, look, I took a look at your newsletter. The content was bad. I'm going to be at the events. Why don't you let me handle the newsletter? He goes, good. You're in charge of the newsletter. Just like that. You know, you're in charge of the newsletter. And he'd move on. And that's Charlie's style in a lot of ways. I remember one time, it's maybe our second event. Remember the Sardo rack? Remember the Sardo rack?
Oh yeah. It reminded me of like a stapler.
Yeah. Uh,
Oh yeah, they had it at Hard Times in Bellflower, and there was mixed reviews on it from the players. You would hear all kinds of different. They'd talk about it a lot.
yeah. So he was like, he showed me how to set up the Sardo rack on a table because it had to be very specific. He had to do it just right. He showed me one and he goes, okay, you're now officially in charge of all the tables. And it just constantly came like that. And I just started learning all different parts of the industry. I remember
Mm.
one time he shows up, he hands me a cell phone. He goes, you're now this number is paid for by the UPA, but you're going to be the one to answer the phone when people call, you know?
Wow.
And so it just, next thing you know, um, when Charlie was no longer president and Robert Lipson became president, Robert Lipson said, look, Frank, I don't have the ability to be at every event and I don't want to be at every event. He goes, but when you walk into the room, the players see the UPA. You are the rep now. I'm going to pay for everything. You go and play. You do what the UPA needs to do on the ground. So to me, it was like a no-brainer, you know, now a paid position. And then once the market crashed in 2007, 2008 with the housing, promoters and sponsors just started backing out of the industry. It was really bad for pool. And the UPA was going bankrupt. The money just kept dwindling and dwindling and dwindling. And I would tell the president I give him warning. Look, we got 3 months of finances. We got 2 months of finances. We got 1 month of finance. I was in Vegas working a booth for Predator, doing challenge matches and whatnot. And I remember calling him and saying, we got no more money, so you need to send a check or something, right? And he just said, I'm done. Turn out the lights when you leave the office. UPA's over. So I went that night with a friend of mine, Darren. We went to this salsa club in Vegas, and I was sitting there thinking, while I was drinking a mojito, this is just my personal dialogue. Why would God have me do something for 5 years and then all of a sudden it disappear?
Mm.
To me, that didn't make sense. But here it was in front of me, right? And I learned something in life that's been one of my most valuable tools. When you are at a very bad spot or position, only then can you see something that you've never been able to see from any other perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And so I pictured in my head, we didn't even have an office. I pictured in my head an office and me turning out the lights and just leaving it. And I thought, well, what if I were to leave the lights on and lock the door and run the office? So I called up the president the next day and I said, listen, have the board vote me in as president. That way you're not the president. When the ship's going down, I'll throw my ideas at this thing. He calls me up the following day, says, congratulations, you're president of the UPA. That's the good news. The bad news is you're bankrupt.
Mm,
and you have to come up with 60,000 in like the next, you know, 6 months or something.
wow.
So anyway, long story short, we got some promoters, we had the events. A lot of people don't know this, but we were actually set up to do a mobile game for gambling at the time, and a company from Costa Rica flew me out to Costa Rica and handed me some cash, and they wanted to brand with us. They started making this game. Well, America changed its laws with gambling, and that couldn't happen. But that got me from point A to B, got me out of that hole.
Mm,
And you want to hear something funny now I think about it? Here's the funniest thing. Um, the first event I was president of, the first event, right? I added $5,000 to the event to show the players that not only am I president, but it's a good thing, right? So we went from bankrupt to me adding money, just
wow.
adding money.
That's awesome.
One pool player thanked me for it.
Only one. Wow.
Now ask me if I ever added money again.
Did you add money again?
Why? They were still there playing for that amount of money, and no one, I didn't have to do anything for that. I learned a lot of lessons really fast. Sad but true, you know. And I think, you know, I think I do this to this day when I take someone out to lunch. If they don't thank me, I never take them out to lunch again.
Oh, maybe we should use that with dates too. Seriously.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, no, seriously. That's the thing you learn when you do stuff. There's universal principles that go way beyond just a certain aspect of one little thing.
Yeah, I mean, because it's your first interaction with somebody that you're
Hmm.
you're, you're actually doing something, breaking bread with them, and they don't thank you. It's like, okay, well, what's next?
That, yeah, and that, if you have a simple rule like that, that could certain people that you shouldn't let into your life, you have better odds of having good relations and that person being somebody that won't turn against you, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, I look at it like this. I mean, you
It's
don't
it's
have
a
much with
basic
it.
thing. Thank you is such a basic thing, and we're supposed to be taught that by our parents when we're just little,
Yeah.
like 2, 3 years old. Your aunt gives you da 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 a piece of cake. You're supposed to say thank you, and you're 4 years old. It's just, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I just look at it like this. Uh, you don't see them again. That's the best relationship you could ever had. Otherwise, it was just going to be something bad. There's no question about it.
Yeah, so true. What is your plan? The next like 5 years, do you have some plans for the UPA? Some
Well,
things, some
yeah,
goals and visions like the next 5 years.
yeah. I mean, the plan is to continue to grow the league. I needed at about 20,000 members before. See, I would like to start some type of tour prior to that, but something on small scale, like a bar box tour, like small scale, just to get the wheel going.
Okay.
The only issue is that um, I need other people to do it, um, and that's tough. Uh, when you don't have the budget to pay them, that's tough. Um, so it's kind of twofold. But once I grow the league to 20,000, then I can put on the events that I want to. Put it that way,
Okay.
pro events that I want to. You know, when's the 20,000 come? I don't know. In a year, are we flooded? Or is it 10 years from now? I really don't have that answer.
You've done the math to come up with that number.
Correct.
Sure. Exactly.
Yeah, because you got to look at it like this. I would have to start off professional events as actually promotional events. They're not going to be money makers, right? It's like, I mean, think about it. If put it this way, if you started a professional event company right now, putting on events, there's no way you could think in terms of you making money to begin with,
Mm.
right? Look at it like this. How are you going to get all the best players in the world to want to come to your event? The answer is simple: money. They're not going to come because you're Robert. They're not going to come because I'm Frank. They're not going to come because your company has a pretty logo. It's not going to become because they're donating their time. No, it's money. Period. So just by announcing an event, you've already lost money.
Hmm.
50,000, 100,000, whatever. It's gone. It's money gone. Now you have to work on the venue, money, the pool tables, money, the ambiance, money. Are you doing all this yourself? I hope not. You're gonna need staff, money. So, and then you got to sell tickets, right? People got to come and watch it. Well, those tickets, you're maxed out by the venue that you have. Let's say you have a venue, you can only, like our venue in at our national event, it has a maximum of 500 people that you can have in there. So I'm already limited by the fish tank, right? I can only have so many fish in there. So even if you crunch the numbers and sell 500 tickets at X amount, you're not paying for the event. So anyway, it's just stuff like that. I mean, the point is that you would have to plan to lose money, which means you need money. I don't come from money. I don't intrinsically have money. So therefore, I have to have the league mechanism create the money in order to make the dream happen.
Exactly. For your league system for the UPA, you have a SSR system that really helps players see where they are as far as related to other players and strengths and weaknesses they have. So could you describe the SSR system that you use that really is beneficial for players and their growth as a pool player?
Yeah, I mean, it's very simple. I actually developed it from something that someone said was impossible. And I saw the illogic of our industry. Um, I was talking to somebody once and he said, well, Frank, he was a league operator for another league. And he said, if you take two pool players and you have them play, you could have 20 people watch them and you could have 20 people come up with different ratings on what those players should be.
True.
Now, that is true, but there's a flaw with that thinking because my thought process immediately was coming from, what do I care about the 20 people? I only care about Ralph Souquet, who's sitting over in the corner watching. Does that make sense?
Like what he sees
Correct.
as a professional, as
Correct.
opposed to these random people
Correct.
they're impressed by so and
What do
so's
I
bank shot
care?
or whatever.
Yeah, without taking offense to it, what do I care about what you think about my game? And why should you care about what I think about your game? Let's talk to Efren to see what they think.
Hmm.
You see what I'm getting at?
They have the knowledge base. Yeah.
Correct, because they know. So, how can I tell LeBron James how good he is? I have no idea about basketball.
Yeah.
So, yes, we could take 20 people that don't know basketball, make them watch LeBron James, and come up with 20 different ratings and systems. So, do you see how illogical that logic is?
Mm-hmm. Because
So
it's
that's why
not
my
based on a foundation. There it
correct.
is.
So my brain immediately went to, if Ralph Souquet was watching, that's what we do. So essentially, my goal is to build Ralph Souquet. It looks at your shot making, your percentages, how you play safeties, what happens on your timeouts, what happens on your jump shots, what happens when you miss, how many fouls. It looks at everything. Now we have real information, right? So I'm going to give you an example of what our system does for me that just it destroys the root of misconceptions in our industry. 8-ball on the break, the ability to win 8-ball on the break, or 9-ball, or 10-ball.
Mm-hmm.
So many players, they don't like it. They act like it's something that happens so much. I look through our database of what happened in the year 2023. I'm looking at thousands of pool players and who has the best. It's like 7 breaks for the year, 7 winning breaks.
I had last year I played on it was this weekly thing, kind of like a tour in LA. All through the whole season, I was playing one tournament a week constantly, and I had three breaks on the 9-ball the entire season myself.
Yeah, it's
That was it. That's
yeah.
it.
And see, and pool players complain about that. Well, I don't like losing on the break and whatever, right? You know what ESPN told us? Because the pros were talking about, the pros were doing the same thing. Well, we don't like a lower ranked player beating us by winning the break,
Mm-hmm.
right?
I saw that. I saw
So,
that.
so ESPN told them, we're not going to put you guys on TV if you get the winning break out of the factor. That's a perfect example of how you allow the industry complaints to hurt their evolution.
Mm.
So that's why in every discipline for the UPA, 8, 9, and 10, you can win on the break because ESPN told us. You know what I mean? Anyway, the point is that with our system, we can pull up that information at any time, any place. No other system in the industry can do that. Right? Not unless it's like a little league like yours that's recording it. But I mean, that's not a nationwide thing.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. So anyway, it allows you to really look at who you are as a pool player, and it's actually a program for playing pool. It's not a chess program that's then used to calculate pool scores, which isn't a pool program. That's actually a chess program, right? So that's where it came from. That's what it is, and it constantly evolves. Like I'll see things in there and go, oh, okay, let's have the system do this X, Y, and Z, right? So that and it's fair. It's fair. It doesn't pick on anybody. There's very popular pool league systems out there that actually allow the league operators to control the ratings. They don't tell their customers that because they're fundamentally deceptive, but that's the reality.
Mm.
In our league, the league operator cannot control your rating. It's impossible. Why? Because we're not interested in the 20 people. We're interested in the system that's constantly evolving and sees far more than you do. Does that make sense?
And then the different aspects that the SSR system is keeping track of, I as a player can get access to this.
Yeah, correct. Let
And
me
then at request, or is information like given like every few weeks, every month, or how's that work?
every match.
Oh, literally every match.
Yeah, give me one moment here and I'll pull it up for you.
Okay.
I just got to find some player information. Can you still see me?
Yes.
Okay, because I'm typing something up on my computer.
Yeah, you're gonna share.
No, I'm going to show you on my cell phone.
Oh, okay.
Give me one moment. Okay. Okay, so here's the app here.
Let me see. Okay, it's clear.
There's the
Okay,
schedules.
there's the day, the time.
Yeah, when the
Oh,
player.
and then there's the US rank as far as the
Correct.
UPA,
Correct.
state rank, my speed rank.
Speed rank is, see how the player that's selecting, what is it, selecting 8 ball and they're an 8.
Oh yeah, yes.
So their speed rank is where they rank amongst all the 8s in the system,
Oh, that's the ranking of all the rates of all the eights, excuse
of
me.
all the 8s.
Ah, not the entire UPA. Okay, I see.
Well, entire UPA would be US rank.
Exactly. So it does both. Hey, I'm an 8, and among all those, I'm 14. Okay, I see.
Yeah.
And then upcoming matches I saw.
Yeah. And then, of course, you can switch to your discipline. This is 9 ball.
Oh, okay, you guys do 8, 9, and 10. Okay.
So then the upcoming matches.
And then the matches are usually like if I did the 10 ball, for example, that's once a week, or how's that work?
Typically once a week.
Okay. And then you have different nights. Let's say somebody hypothetically did 8, 9, 10. Then that's 3 different nights usually.
Correct.
Oh, okay.
So you can actually see, well, actually, it's showing us, yeah, he's got 10 ball this week. Let's see. And then here's all of the stats.
Okay. Shot, break percentage, foul percentage. Um, what's MPG?
Misses per game.
Oh, misses per game. Oh, that's a cool stat.
Yeah,
Because you can't keep track of that. Is like you know, if I'm focusing and I'm playing so and so, I can't sit here and keep track of my runs and all that. And if I start doing that, I'm going to be missing.
correct. Here is the shot statistics by night. So it's 8 ball. It's on. This is his break percentage. And then there's,
Okay.
if you click on one of those data points, it tells you what you did that night.
Okay, my break percentage, my foul percentage, my shot making percentage, match efficiency. What is match efficiency?
How much you're winning.
Oh, okay. And then let me see the other stats. There was match efficiency, and then after that, I saw, let me see. Oh, that's a good one. How effective are my saves?
Correct. And because we
And I'm
have
getting
time,
ball in hand is considered, hey, I was effective. I got ball in hand.
correct. And because we have an amateur league, we allow timeouts. So it even tells you whether or not your timeouts had a positive result.
Okay. In the timeout, I talked to like the head
Someone
of
on
my
your team,
is it usually the head of my team or just a
it's of your choice.
oh, okay. I talked to so and so. Okay.
Here's their how they play against other speeds.
Oh, that's really cool. And
So
then once again by the games, I saw that.
yeah, let's see. And that's really it. I mean, that's relevant to this is for their Vegas qualifiers. It just tells them whether or not they're qualified to play for their Vegas qualifiers.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, so that's the app. Um, but you can see them as soon as we get that information. My data entry staff uploads it day and night, and you have access to it on your cell phone.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, constantly. It's constantly updated. Really awesome.
We actually provide the most stats in the industry. That's just a bare fact, you know. Not downing the other leagues and what they do. I'm sure what they do is great, but
Yeah, this is like even beyond this, we don't have this many stats for like the pro players.
correct.
I mean, this is more professional in the aspect because usually you have that's what it's all about. Major League Baseball, the NFL. There's crazy amount of stats, and we've never had this in this game. And that's awesome that you brought that out. And that's more of a professional because that's something that's universal in everything, but it wasn't in this game.
So now go back to our original question. Who should be monitoring the player? The 20 people that don't know, or a system that knows?
Hmm. Yeah, and there's psychological, I just thought of this. If you put it towards somebody else, there's things that they don't realize. I might say that I think this person's amazing when the players are equal because maybe that's my friend, or maybe it's the facial expressions. He's more exciting to watch.
Yeah.
And if somebody's more exciting to watch, I might think they're better. So there's like these little things. Yeah, if it's not based on numbers, then we can start getting based on feelings.
Yeah,
And feelings aren't stats. And feelings don't tell the story.
that's right.
And then I'm not realizing them basing it on feelings. Exactly. Good point.
Well, I got another 5 minutes here for you.
I would like to, my final question, I'd like to ask, I heard in another interview, I heard a couple of other interviews people did that you went through a time where you passed away and came back.
Oh yeah, I don't know what it was. One day I went home, I ate something and I felt sick. And I just honestly I figured it was just bad food. And I went home, I didn't feel good. I went to sleep and I woke up about 30 minutes later and I just vomited everywhere. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm definitely sick. Now I don't get sick. I really don't ever get sick. I just don't get sick. Just not a thing for me. So I thought, well, I'm due to be sick, right? It's been 10, 12 years or whatever, right? No big deal. I went back to sleep. I drank some water. I went back to sleep. I was just burning up. I had a fever, and I uh, woke up again and just vomited everywhere. Had my one of my friends bring over some liquids so I can drink them. Just thought I got to sweat this thing out, not eat food, just drink liquids, which I've done before. And again, I just vomited. Anyway, it got to a point where that just kept happening. And I started waking up in different parts of the house. Like I'd walk around because I was so uncomfortable and I would just pass out. I'd fall down.
Mm.
I fell down in the bathtub. I fell down. And anyway, on day 4 of this, day 4, that's how hard headed I am.
Ugh.
On day 4, I called up my friend and I asked if can I come to your place and you watch over me? And they said, yeah, but you need to go to the hospital first. So they drove over, they take me into the hospital, and they I walk into the hospital and they take me to the emergency room and they're talking to me. And I'm just telling them, this, that, whatever. And the doctor says, I have no idea how you're able to just talk normal to us right now. Apparently, well, so what happened was they started bringing in all this emergency staff in the room, and I knew something was up, but I didn't know what was up, right? And they basically tackled me and shocked me.
Mm.
Shocked me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Because apparently they had a situation where this guy's heart has been beating for more than on the 4th day, and they my heart was beating at over 200 beats a minute.
Oh
I thought this guy's going to die at like any second, right?
my God.
So they shock you to get your heart back in rhythm. Anyway, they tackle me, they shock me, I pass out. I wake up and they're all looking at me and they're all like, "Can you hear us? Blink your eyes if you can hear us." This was the funniest part. I'm lying down in this bed, everybody's watching me. I opened up my eyes and they said, "Blink if you can hear us." And I remember thinking, just because I opened up my eye, what makes you think I can close my eyes? Right? And I was actually wiggling my left toe to notify that I could hear it, but they weren't looking at my toe, they were looking at my eyes.
Oh.
Anyway, I shut my eyes again and I had what called a catastrophic failure.
Hmm.
Kidney went out, liver went out, lungs went out, heart went out. Done. And they broke my ribs trying to revive me, and they finally revived me, kind of thing. Then they called up my friends and they said, "This guy's on total life support. You better get here and say goodbye."
Hmm.
So anyway, I woke up the next day. They're surprised I woke up, and
Here you are now. Exactly.
they're still plugging along.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank the Lord.
Thank you so much for your time, and I'd like to close out. Since we talked about the UPA, how it's different, and how it can be beneficial for players.
Yeah.
Could you I'd like to, in the description of this video, any way they can reach your website, send me the links of any beneficial links, may they be some information about and how they could join the UPA.
Yeah. We're at upatour.com. And
UPAtour.com.
you can, if you're interested in playing in our leagues, you can look up and see where our leagues are located, and you can play in that area. Just contact the league operator. If you're interested in actually starting a league, fill out our initial form, because potentially, if you really want to start a league, we have the complete startup for you, and so you can get up and running, and you can turn pool into a little business on the side. It's a lot of fun. You can actually become a host, like I host people, but it'll help players improve their game. It's a fair handicapping system, and we're into good times off the table and serious pool on the table. We're family friendly, so we take all ages as long as the venues allow the kids to be in their venue. And that's about it. Let us know what we can do for you.
All right, great. Thank you for your time. And I really enjoyed this interview, and we learned a lot about pool, professional pool, and pool in general from many different angles. Thank you so much for your time.
All right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.